you so much. Well, I'm here to just follow up on a few other tools and resources that we've sort of alluded to over the last couple of days. And you've probably seen a lot of things happening in the space physically for one of the tools I'll talk about, which would be some books. So we can move on to our next spot. And what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about is the Michigan Learning Channel and the show Read, Write, Roar that was created. And I'm not going to do a lot about this today. I think we'll have more opportunities to do more. So we can move on to our next, if you can put up the next slide for me. That's okay. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So we will be doing more about this. And some of you may have just received an email recently about some of the partnership work that we've done because we are doing some more work with EduPass to create some more modules. But before we get into that, just to back up, how many of you have heard of the Michigan Learning Channel before? Awesome, great. And how many of you have heard of Read, Write, Roar before? Okay, excellent, that's very encouraging, awesome. And Liberty even made us some fun stickers that you could also take this time for your computers. So there are several people in the room that I just want to recognize for the work that they did for the show. So if you were a coach that was on the show, if you could stand up, or a teacher on the show, if you could just stand up. I probably should have told them I was going to do this, but there we have Shannon Fuller, Chandra Ziegler, here's Janice Miller, who was like, well, kind of standing, sit, stand. Okay, so all of them were in the room, and then one of our colleagues, Sharnita Rogers, who was on the show with us too, she is an engagement coordinator now. We've talked a little bit about them before, but she'll be here tomorrow morning and then after the day too to have more information about Michigan Learning Channel. She'll bring some resources with her. And I was privileged, she was my first grade teaching partner on the show, and a pleasure to work with her. But as we went through the planning process of this, there was a lot of work that went into it. And in fact, Dr. Rhonda Provost, who you met yesterday, who's been outside sitting, she's got a really nice bright purple jacket on, and she's been helping and recruiting people to do video interviews. So Rhonda was a project coordinator between Michigan Learning Channel and between MAISA. And she and Janice are continuing to work on an excellent document that we will be getting ready to share with you pretty soon that really breaks it down where you can see what the content was that we were planning. As a group of coaches, we really worked to make sure that we were trying to do as much alignment with what topics would be around grade levels for science and social studies that you would be teaching, and all teach around common themes. And part of that was creating text sets. The way the show was, it's like 26 minutes per episode, and so we needed to have some split content. We always wanted to make sure we had foundational lessons that were being taught, and there was also usually a read aloud. And so as we were thinking and planning for this year, one of the thoughts that we had as a group at MAISA was providing some more book access to all of you to the read aloud text that we had on the show. And so if you had been at any of the fall professional learnings that we had done with Michigan Learning Channel, or even if you were part of the work we did with Dr. Lindsay, I believe in that too, I gave out a book list. And so it kind of had it coded by which grade level used the book and which marking period it was in. And so you did receive a little notice about this, but we've been sending a lot of emails and things to you, and you may not have had a chance to read all of it. But what we are doing today is gifting each ISD a text set of the texts that were used on the show Read, Write, Roar. So you're going to get 75 books that were used on the show. There were, let me see, we have about 25 that you won't be getting, only because, so it's pretty tricky to get broadcast rights to be able to have a book on television, as it turns out, and sometimes those expire. And so some of the books we had broadcast rights to were actually out of print texts, or they were hard to get, like multiple copies of them. Some of them are more obscure. So we got as many texts as we could for you, so I'm pretty excited to tell you that you're going to get 2 totes. You may have seen them, and I should have grabbed them and brought them out there, but I was like, I've been doing a lot of lifting the last week. I'll just save my back for one more. But I did do a picture of it, so there you go. So you're going to get 2 totes, and they should be alphabetized for you. And we figured that was the best way to present them for you because, for example, Meet My Family is a book that I read as a first grade teacher, but kindergarten also read it because I thought, oh, we could organize these around marking period, but it doesn't really work that way if the same text was used around in different marking periods or if it was also used in different grade levels in different marking periods. So for now, they're alphabetized. But they're coming to you to use however you find that it will be useful for you. Within the 75 books, there are text sets around topics that we covered. So, for example, I can speak from the first grade perspective because I was doing that work, and so we did books about community in first grade. And so we looked at what the social studies standards were about citizenship and community, and so you'll find several books around that topic that could be used as a text set. So, you know, I'm not coaching in schools anymore, but sometimes it's hard for people to visualize that they can actually read a social studies text set in their class and be infusing some of the literacy skills they're trying to teach, but be, you know, leveraging your social studies content or leveraging your science content. And so you'll have sets of books that you can use for whatever purpose you want. Some people have talked about maybe doing a lending library. Maybe you have a school that's piloting doing some of these pieces in their like in their classrooms or whatever that may be. We hope you just use them for whatever is going to be good for you. So within your totes, you're going to get a nice printed out list. It's on a little bit of a harder paper and it's a little glossy, so hopefully it won't rip as easily. But this is the all the books that are in there, and as I put this together for you, you'll notice there's some highlighted words on the list. If it's highlighted, it means it's one of Dr. Julia Lindsay's Beyond Decodables that was used within the show. And those you can download for free right off of the internet, and we give you the links to everything. We tell you who the publishers were for all of these. So we try and make it as easy as possible for you to access them. But like Chandra, who's a second grade teacher on the show, she did her own writing. And so you might see something written by a teacher on the show and you don't have access to it because it's something that someone just wrote, but it's on the show for you to see. So that's that coding. And then the last coding is there's like a pink highlight. If it's highlighted in pink, it means it's not in the text set. Either because it was hard for us to get multiple copies or sometimes things were ordered in, you know, they don't show up or something happens. But as a bonus, there's some books, something called like, there's a alligator in my bed, which actually was not at all on the show. And I think maybe was just sent to us as like it says it's the 25th anniversary. So there's a bonus book that I want you to know is in there, but is not on the show, but it's in the text set for you. So there you go, but don't go crazy looking for it because it's actually not. Be like, where did they use this book? Like we didn't, so you didn't miss anything. It just happens to be there. So, so that's coming for you. There's also a letter that will be in there that kind of talks about what the text set is and how we chose some of the books. And in fact, Dr. Wright was influential in that because when we were looking from K2 for which text to choose, and at the time I was helping to put together some of the kindergarten books, and I was thinking, we have experts that have already gone through work and figured out what are some good books for these grade levels. And so we looked at the Solid Start curriculum and pulled text from there using all the vetting they had done. So you'll notice there's a lot of books. I think it's like Robin Johnson and Bobby Kalman books. I feel like those were a lot of the Solid Start texts, and you'll find a bunch of those in there. So those are some gifts for you, and we only need one, well, maybe you want two people to, each person to take a box, but really we're gonna ask if you can kind of just kind of go up one at a time over the next couple of days. We promise that there is a text set for everybody. They're already labeled with your ISD, so you don't have to like scramble and make sure someone else is going to get yours because they're already organized by your ISD with a sticker in it with these letters and book lists for you, and we'll just ask you to check off that you received it. And then because we know some of you are with your families here, we have also secured a company that if for some reason you cannot take it back, we want to get it to you. So there's a company that we work with in town that will come here and pick them up and ship them to you. So if that's a problem, just let us know, and that's how we're going to negotiate that issue. So that was the big Read, Write, Roar announcement as far as books. I don't know if any questions you have about this, you can let me know, unless it's something I need to answer for you now. Okay. And then the last little announcement is I mentioned earlier about EduPass, and we had done a professional learning series with Michigan Learning Channel in 2021 and then in 2022, and we're starting to release those out. So we'll be sharing out an email with all of you that just says that those will be starting to be available, and people can get credit for them now because they've been live on YouTube that you could see them, but they'll actually be available in terms of like being able to sign up through EduPass for free and then get a sketch credit for it. And this is version 1 that's out there right now. We're actually going to add some video to it that we'll be filming while we're here, and we have message makers, and then like version 2 will re-release for that. But you can sign up for version 1. It just won't have a little video in it, but the content will all be there the same. So that was my big piece I wanted to talk to you about for that. And if there's no big questions about that, we're going to do a little bit more viewing of Dr. Duke in a moment. But I want to give you a moment at your tables. Take about 2 to 3 minutes to just talk about how you think you might use the sets of text that will be coming to you and how they might be useful either at the ISD level or in a district that you're working with. And then we'll come back together and maybe have a few of you share your ideas. Okay? So go ahead and turn and talk. Chat. Okay, so I'm hoping you're still going to be excited after I tell you what I'm going to tell you, because a question came up online, and so I want to just make sure that you realize, so it's one set of text of 75 books per ISD. I'm sorry that it's not each of you getting 75 books. Okay, I was like, sorry about that. But yeah, so it's one set of text. I brought up a sample. We'll just say this one up here is Cora's, because the ISD literacy coach from Cora happens to be online, and that's where I'm on loan from. So this set we'll just leave here right now. So if you wanted to peek at any but not take any, those are right here, but there's some great high quality text in there. And thank you, Michelle, for helping me both bring those in and clarify that. And also, like, not to worry, we'll make sure that everyone does get a set, and it doesn't have to be the coach coordinator that takes it. We just really only need like one person to be the person that takes it, and that you have a person from MAISA with you when you're signing it out so that we know you got it. Now, I will tell you that they were labeled with bin numbers 1 and 2, but this one happens to not have that. So I'm just going to make sure that that's still the case in case any of that was undone. So yeah, anyone have any good ideas they want to share though about how you're going to use the text? And I'd love to hear them from you. Melissa, I would love to. Yeah. Okay, so Melissa had a really, really great question about like when we got them, what were our thoughts? So full disclosure on that is that my dream had been to actually, and I had talked with Tanya about this, to start to do some small professional learning opportunities around how we integrate science and social studies and be talking about a solid start, and then to be able to little by little be introducing sets of texts around particular topics in science and social studies. So that was when I was like, oh, why don't we buy these for everybody? I had that really particular like professional learning lens to do that with. With the different projects we had going at MAA this year, it felt like that wasn't something that we could pull together this past year for all of you, and then we had them sitting in a room and they weren't getting to you, and that also felt bad. So if I were getting them at the ISD, some of the things I did think about was, let's say there's a teacher that's like really like, I don't know what you mean, like the text set situation, I can never find any good high quality text. Like I might bring a text set with me if I'm going in to do a conference and start a cycle on text sets. Or if someone's thinking there's no way I can get any content in. And I also want to be really clear that, especially for the science leaders in this room, this is in no way saying that we're replacing, that we think just reading aloud some science books or some social studies text is doing science and social studies, and that's all you have to do. It's just if you can do some knowledge building, and if you can make that the connection for the kids that you're working with, so that as you're doing science experiments and working on certain things, you also have that building knowledge around, like just like we learned about in May as a whole group from the amazing science team that's been presenting, and then all of you in that space are learning some more. So you may come up with some other ideas in terms of that. You may have a teacher that's really utilizing these a lot, that is going to borrow these, and sign them out and just use them in their classroom. Maybe for some of your newer teachers who you're trying to help them think about what read aloud should look like, that you can have the show on as a model, but then also have the text for them to be able to look through it themselves. You being able to go in and model and you don't have to look for the book, things like that, because there are some really great texts in there. Gosh, there was one other thought I was just thinking of that just went right out of my brain, but I'm sure it will return. As I'm thinking about that, was there anything else that any of you were thinking about in terms of how you might utilize the texts? Are we thinking you have a use for them, hopefully? Or maybe not? Yes, Erin.
So we were talking about...
Hold on. Oh, thanks, Erin.
Who said it? So we were just talking about sharing the list with the building media specialists so that as they're trying to build text sets that could support instruction in the classrooms, they would have some ideas.
Yeah, great. I love that. Yeah, it's just anything we can do to sort of model, make it easier for teachers. If they see a book that they like and you can find out, being able to order it. Sometimes, especially if you're ordering multiple copies, they give you good deals on that. So as a grade level, like when I was teaching first grade forever and ever ago, we would order sets of texts for our whole grade level so that we all had common text sets that we could use. So just one thought. Thank you, Erin. Was there another person that was going to say something over this way too? Oh, yes. Yes, way in the back, Erin, we have a...
That's okay. I'm really loud.
No, you're not.
We actually need to hear it in the microphone so that our Zoom friends can hear you.
I was just wondering if you could digitally link the document that is in with the books that we're receiving.
Yes.
So that we can have that online for our teachers.
I totally did that somewhere, but I need to put it...
We will link it into the main agenda for this time block here on day 2.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, and actually, that's why, okay, so not to confuse things, the one that I'm going to show that you'll get in this box. So I have 2 sets of this when I made it. One is the ISD set because it shows the ones we purchased for you and it has these highlights. That's meaningless for teachers. So then I have a teacher set that doesn't have all that coding on it. So I will make sure the clean set that you want to disseminate to teachers for them to see actually is the one that you get linked. I'll just try and differentiate that, and then I can also link this one that's here, but just so you know, there's going to be 2. One, I can even just put like teacher copy or, and then one would be ISD access copy. So if that's helpful. Thank you for asking that question.